Hello, everyone, and this is our first lecture in the chapter titled The Rise of Pompey. So, um, if you'll recall, Rome was thrown in a bit of a loop. After the rule of Sulla, the democratic forms of the Republic had been shown to be very weak. It had lost a lot of its respect because the army came into Rome and totally controlled everything, slaughtered people, ignored the laws, and there was a lot of chaos because of that. Now, after Sulla passes away, the Roman Senate is going to come back into power. However, a lot of its respect is now gone. Um, and because of its respect is gone, you're going to start seeing revolts in some other provinces, such as Etruria and then Lusitania. Now that brings in this fellow here. This is Quintus Sertorius. Now, he's one of those guys who had been part of Marius's gang. So he was an enemy of Sulla, but he wasn't known to really take part so much in many of the mass murders that were brought on by Marius. He is going to be essentially invited into that region, which is modern-day Portugal on the other side of Spain. Now, Hispania is a Roman province during this time as well. And if you recall, back when we talked about the times of Carthage, it was one of those regions that went back and forth between the Carthaginians and the Romans. Well, now it's fully under the Roman sphere of influence. Now, Quintus Sertorius is going to perform a lot of reforms in that area. He's going to be seen as a very pious man. The people are going to respect him. He's going to do military reforms, legal reforms. He's going to reform their government, very Roman styled. Same with their education system. So, not so much as an education system we might think of today. However, he did introduce Roman style literacy and education and things like that. And, of course, hierarchy and things that helped out with their society. This is going to be a major problem for the Romans because they want to take back control of that region. But Quintus Sertorius was a rather successful general, so he's able to fight them off time and time again. Eventually, however, the Romans say that they're going to have it. Now, the Romans are, of course, going to send in an army led by that fellow we had on our first slide, Gnaeus Pompeius, or otherwise known as Pompey the Great, Pompeius Magnus. As Pompey is bringing in the Roman army to finally crush Sertorius, Sertorius is going to be murdered by one of his own men, by one of his own Romans. You could say this is possibly because they felt like he was betraying the Roman people, or perhaps they knew that they were going to be defeated and they wanted to look good before they were conquered. In any case, he died before he could face Pompey in battle, and so the region is, of course, now without their leader, is going to fall to the hands of Romans once again. Now, during this time, I told you it was a time of chaos. You're also going to have the famous gladiator revolt led by this fellow, Spartacus. And, of course, there's some say that Spartacus was actually a Spartan slave made into a gladiator. Some say that he was just Greek in general. But in any case, he's going to lead a revolt that's going to let some of these armed, very well trained, and very well practiced warrior slaves to develop a ragtag army. And they're going to essentially go from region to region, killing slaveholders and liberating the slaves there, promising them freedom. And this, of course, is going to be anybody who joins along, not just gladiators, but also the women and the children and the men who have been working in farms and in those Roman villas and places like that who want to seek freedom and get out of those shackles. If you recall, when we talked about Roman slavery, it wasn't necessarily the same kind of harsh slavery you might think of in the Caribbean or in the American South in certain regions, but Roman slavery in some places was kind of more humane, if you could say that about a form of slavery, but in some places it was still extremely cruel and brutal. But in any case, like I said, 40,000 people are going to follow him, and they want to make an escape. Now, during this time of their escape, they're going to have multiple battles with the Roman legions, and they're going to be rather successful. This is going to lead some of Spartacus's followers to say that perhaps they should try to take Rome itself, the city. He had a better head on his shoulders than that. Now, he's eventually going to decide that their best bet for freedom is going to be to try to sail to North Africa. Unfortunately for them, as they go down to the southern coast of Italy, and they pay some pirates to sail them across the Mediterranean, well, the pirates are going to take their money and sail away without the army. So Spartacus was left high and dry. And so all they could do then is make this march all the way back north, hoping to make it up into the Alps and into German territory and away from the Romans. Unfortunately, during this time, the Romans are going to send a new general, and this general's name is Crassus. Crassus is going to chase down Spartacus, and at the same time, Pompey is going to be finished with Hispania, and he's going to make his army's way back down. Now, Crassus is going to defeat Spartacus, and much of his army will be slain, but Pompey is going to take credit for this defeat. He's going to catch 5,000 out of those 40,000 trying to run away from after the battle, and he's going to slaughter them. He's going to write to the Romans saying that he did a great deed for them. Those who were not slain in battle were crucified. If you'll recall, crucifixion, though it did not have Roman origins, was a form of punishment that the Romans deemed not worthy for a citizen, but for slaves. Now, Pompey and Crassus are going to make their way back to Rome, and they're going to be hailed as heroes. Though Crassus did most of the work, Pompey is going to take most of the credit, and both are going to be made consuls in Rome. And Pompey is going to enjoy the honors of a big military parade called the Triumph. And so this is going to be a great deal for him. It's going to help accelerate his political career, as we shall see. And we will discuss more of the rise of Pompey in our next lecture. All right, thank you.